So let's go to a little bit of news that broke mostly pre-holiday, but right before the holiday. Marvel, this is, one of those things. It was funny because it's like the week of Christmas, and you do wonder how much news will happen, but there was, both on movies and TV.
Alarmingly,
yes, it
there
didn't stop.
was. It did not stop. There were big events.
Including Marvel putting out the press release. Marvel put out the press release about who they'd cast as Luke Cage.
Which, did you find that? I mean, do you think that they're just not thinking about the press? Do they just not care about us, Eric?
No, I think Marvel really likes to control their messaging.
Yeah.
So I really think in this case it was just about getting ahead of someone else scooping them.
Yeah.
The deal, so it was Mike Colter, the person who we'd heard was almost a lock when Kristen Ritter was cast.
Right.
He was the one that supposedly they had the best chemistry together. They said she's got the role. He's almost a lock. I think they just signed his deal and they didn't want one of the scoopers getting to it.
We know how those scoopers operate.
Yes,
too.
we do. So it's out there. So Mike Colter, he's got a recurring role in The Good Wife. He was on the second season of The Following, and he just starred in Halo Nightfall. What do those projects have in common? I haven't seen any of them. I didn't watch the second season of The Following.
I remember him. He was very briefly on Coven, I believe.
Yes, he was. Yes.
And I remember him there.
Yeah. So
good.
The guy works all the time. I mean, it is actually funny to look at his IMDb and be like, especially the last year or two, the fact that he's had this very popular recurring role on Good Wife while doing a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So this is going to be his big spotlight, though.
So let me ask you, how are you feeling about the casting in general? I never asked you about how you felt about Kristen Ritter.
Yeah, we guessed right. You weren't here, I don't believe, when we talked about it. I think me and Joshua.
Who knows where I was?
Who knows? Joshua and I did a video about that. No, I'm very for it. The only thing with Kristen Ritter is the physicality question because she's supposed to have been a costume superhero.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be one in the past. So it's okay if she doesn't look all like buff now, but there'll still be some flashbacks, I'm guessing.
It's funny because I was watching Big Eyes, the film, the other day, and she's in it, and I was noticing again how slight she is.
Yeah.
And I did think about that. I was engaged in the movie, but I did think about that for a minute. I was like, God, she is so tiny.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're gonna bulk her up or.
I hope a little bit because I do think she can bring the attitude for sure. And that's like the main thing is Jessica Jones has this snarky, tough attitude. And I definitely think
she's got that.
Yeah, she can bring that.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm glad to hear with her and Mike Colter. That is key, the chemistry. He will be introduced on Jessica Jones, several episodes, I guess, maybe like 7 or the 13. So it sounds like he'll be a pretty prominent role on that.
I think it's so hard to tell from these very initial phases, but and I wish I knew his work a little better. I don't watch The Good Wife.
Right.
I know I should because I hear great
Everyone
things about
says
it.
great things about it.
There's only so much time in the day. But I'm liking the casting full stop for the 4 of them so far.
That's the thing is that they are building towards a team, and yes, they were doing that with Avengers as well, but because this is going to be more condensed, it's like they're really looking at how this will work, and I'm guessing we're going to hear the casting of Iron Fist, who's now the last one,
right?
In the next few months, because we'll meet Luke Cage in Jessica Jones. I'm guessing there's a good chance we'll meet Iron Fist and Luke Cage,
right? And then we'll have them all together.
I realize we should bring this to reader email because it goes hand in hand.
Another reader email?
I'm trying to be good this 2015. Adam wrote an email saying, I'm really excited about Marvel's Daredevil project coming to Netflix this year, especially given its strong Buffy, if we have the Bell ding, Angel Spartacus connections. One thing I worry about is whether or not the approach Marvel are taking with the Defenders series might put off audiences. At the moment, there is no certainty that the show would get a second series. It must be foreign, because we call them seasons here in America, but that's fine. A second series, regardless of how well it might do.
Specifically British.
Yes, with any metric Netflix might care about, subscriber rates, critical response, etc. If there was a second season, he switched it up, commissioned, you assume it will be post The Defenders, so probably 2 to 3 years after the first series. I missed it for a second. There we go. A time frame audiences are not accustomed to. There is a risk that the same creative team might not be available for a follow-up. Marvel has firmly established the approach to their movies where there are a number of projects focusing on individual characters, and the characters come together. Phases 3 is changing up that formula. Anyway, he's asking is that when the movie audiences are used to the 2 to 3 years apart, but with TV, would they be used to that as well? What do you think about the approach?
This is a very well thought out email question. No, I don't really think that for Netflix it is as much of an issue, and the reason is that I think Netflix is counting on the fact that people consume their product a little differently, which means that you and I will definitely be watching it the day that it's available, and probably for the most part just binge watching it, right? Yeah. Well, then it lives there over the next few years, which means that others can catch up anytime they want, rewatch it, what have you. That's one thing. And then the second thing is that once they're all going, there's nothing really to say that they can't have, that it will be that much of a break.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's nothing to say really that you won't see Daredevil season 2 on at the same time as the Defenders.
Yeah.
So
or very shortly after.
It's not like they literally have to wait until all 4. If Daredevil does well for them, which I don't know how those metrics work, because
no one knows.
Netflix won't
It's the
tell
Netflix
us.
mystery.
It's the big Netflix mystery box, but there's nothing to say that if it does what they consider very well for them, meaning a bump up in subscribership, however many views it's getting and so on, that they won't go ahead and order a second season that'll air with the Defenders.
And I would also... debut. And I totally agree with that. And I also say keep in mind how close Marvel plays to the vest. We don't know. They could, because they've just wrapped production on Daredevil, and Stephen DeKnight has been tweeting a lot, and he'll say things about the first season, and he'll answer people going, oh, does this mean there'll be a second? He's like, we don't know. Hopefully. I wouldn't be shocked if they've already have him working on a treatment for the second season.
I wouldn't be shocked either. I mean, that's the thing too with Netflix, is that because you can consume it, I keep saying these like catchwords, but it's true, because you can kind of take in that content in a number of different ways, it opens up a lot of doors for them. They don't have to do things in a traditional manner.
No.
They can release it whenever they want to some degree.
And it's a mixture, because Netflix does that. Netflix also tends to work ahead and order seasons before, right away. Like Kimmy Schmidt, when they picked it up from NBC, it was a 2-season pickup.
Right.
But then you've got Marvel, who think way ahead. And I really do think about sort of the afterlife of these things and how there will be room for people to go back. And even with S.H.I.E.L.D., the fact that S.H.I.E.L.D.'s viewership isn't what they want it to be, sure. But at the same time, I think that it continues to be success on some level. And I think it's like the fact that, okay, now they're introducing Inhumans. It can only help when the Inhumans movie comes out, people going, oh, if you actually watched S.H.I.E.L.D. a couple seasons ago, they introduced that stuff. Oh, I should maybe go watch S.H.I.E.L.D. on Netflix or get the DVD or what have you,
And I think it's a worthwhile investment, and I think that not just Marvel, but probably a lot of people by now know that if word of mouth on a show is really good, then let it stick around for a while, because it can build its audience. You know, it still has a chance because we can so quickly watch it on VOD and catch up.
Yeah, and we should say before we move to the next topic that we know that Daredevil and Jessica Jones are both 2015.
Right.
We don't have dates, although apparently they did say May is probably for Daredevil.
Right.
I'm guessing Jessica Jones is a few months later. I think those will probably be the only 2 we see in 2015.
Right. And then probably
the next 2 in 2016, maybe the next 3, though.
That's what
is very possible.
Yeah, you could have Luke Cage, Defenders, and then another season of Daredevil.
And
Iron Fist in 2016.
There's a lot of possibilities there.
There's all kinds of possibilities. We don't know what they're going to do, but they're not going to have to wait until everything else has been released to work on the next one.
Right, especially because you also have the characters pop up not only in the other Netflix shows, but on S.H.I.E.L.D. or in the movies.
Sure, you could have, okay, now my mind is we have to draw a mind map.
Right. Marvel's thinking big, that's what we're saying. So thank you for the question, Adam. It was a good one.